Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our LinkedIn Live events. And today's topic is going to be on how to resolve conflicts in romantic relationships, a four-step framework. Now, there's a reason why I've introduced this four-step framework because relationship issues in general are, quite complicated. They can be complex. They can have multi layered dynamics in them. But the four-step framework that we're going to discuss today is incredibly simple, very easy to implement, and you can start implementing it right away. And it is going to cover most of the issues that you might be going through, right? Of course, the framework that we will discuss today, it's going to require some modification based on the conflict you're having, based on the situation, based on the dynamic that you do have with your partner. But more or less, it's going to really work with in all the romantic relationships that you have, or in all relationships in general. So before we start, I am just going to quickly check if my audio and video is fine. And by the way, if you're attending this bootcamp for the very first time, sorry, not bootcamp, live. If you're attending this live event for the very first time, how we go about this is that I explain to you a topic in depth today, being resolving romantic relationships, and then you can ask me as many questions as you want while this live is going on. And if you're attending this as a recording on YouTube, because I put all my live events on YouTube, then you can just put your questions down in the comment section. Or if you are inside any of my free communities, you can just DM me as usual. And if you don't know, I'm doing a 2 day boot camp on healing relationship wounds. Right? If you can see, you will be able to see like a blue line going here. And if you would like to get inside that boot camp, you can just DM me relationship, and I'll send you the link to our group. The beautiful thing about that bootcamp is that we're going to be discussing so many things that people don't talk about when it comes to relationships. I mean, if you really think about it, being able to love and being able to love in a healthy manner is the greatest life skill there is. Because the time that you spend in your romantic relationship, right, the time that you spend with your partner, it literally impacts everything in your life. Like even your degree and your education isn't going to impact your finances and your career that much as a partner would. And of course, your happiness levels. I mean, you're planning to procreate with a partner, and you don't know how to love. I mean, how amusing is that, right? So we're going to be discussing a lot of interesting things inside the boot camp. So if you are not inside the group yet, you can just DM me relationship, and um, I'm going to send the link. Let me see if our audio and video is working fine. Okay, so it's working fine, so we can go ahead. All right, so let's not waste any of our time and let's start. So, when we think of issues in romantic relationships, it's important to understand a few things, and this is considered this like a rule that you follow your entire life. First, try to always resolve it between the both of you. Okay, do not drag third party into the picture. Right, not complaining to your parents, not complaining to your friends, not complaining to your siblings or cousins. See, there's a difference between sharing things, and there's a difference between involving the other person. The moment you don't discuss something with your partner which involves your partner, specifically conflicts, and you just go and go run towards whoever support system that you may have, and you start complaining there, you kind of break something really sacred into your relationship, okay, which is just between you and your partner. So whenever it comes to conflicts and you feel that, okay, I don't know how to deal with it, learn the skill how to deal with it. Okay, work on the wounds that are responsible, that is not making you speak up. Work on your confidence. Now again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk to people. If let's say you're facing abuse or something, obviously not, like, go talk to people. But when it comes to conflicts that are manageable, try to resolve it between the both of you, before you go and tell someone else, right? Because that way you keep the sanctity of the relationship intact, right? Or else you can always seek professional help individually or as a couple. That's something that you can always do. But I would say, refrain from sharing each and everything to a friend or a family member, because again, they themselves may come from unhealthy relationship dynamics. They themselves may not really have an objective opinion on things, and they are giving you like terrible advices that did not work for their life, and now they're giving it to you. So again, right, that's whole nonsense. So avoid that. Now, coming to the topic at hand, so we are going to be discussing four things to do, okay, whenever you are in a conflict with your partner. The very first thing, and you'll be surprised how simple it is determine what the issue is actually about. Now, this may look like a very stupid point, but I cannot tell you how many times I have had clients, and we have discussed the conflicts that they are having with their partner. And what I found is that um, you're not really talking about the issue at hand, like you're going to somewhere else. For example, let's say if you have an issue with your partner not, let's say, being cooperative of your career choices, for example, let's say that. So you must be discussing about how you're feeling and why they are doing that, and how it is important to you. And you don't talk about that, you're talking about, okay, this is how you treat my mother, this is the thing you told me 2 years back, you're always like this, you're always like that. So basically, anything but the topic at hand, right? And when you do that, what it does is that it brings up a lot of old issues. And every issue has a time and place, okay? Everything has a time and place for you to discuss. You cannot bring something which happened like 5 years ago or 2 years ago in a conflict that is happening right now, right? Either you should have dealt with that back then, or there is a time and place for things. You don't bring up another conflict in the middle of a current conflict. So first of all, determine what is the issue about. Oftentimes, and it specifically happens to people who don't communicate and express well, they mix up things in their head. Okay, so for example, if the partner isn't cooperative about the career choices, in their head they'll be thinking about, okay, my partner does not respect me at all, or my partner always does this thing, or my partner did not take a stand for me in front of my in-laws. So basically, anything and everything apart from what is in the hand. So make it very very clear to yourself and to your partner what the issue is about. Sometimes it can happen that maybe you are the communicative and clear one, you are precise, and you're able to tell your partner that, okay, this is the issue and I want to talk about it. But your partner is someone who keeps on going here and there and here and there. Maybe they have a habit of beating around the bush. And again, some people do this because they're very scared of confrontation. They're very scared of any kind of conflict or any kind of argument, so they think that, okay, let me just jump around, right? So if that is happening, your job is to stick to the issue and ask your partner to come back to the problem, right? Come back to the problem at hand, whatever the problem is, instead of going here and there and yada yada yada. Come back. Similarly, a few things that you may be doing or your partner may be doing is deflection, changing the topic again and again. Second, like bringing up another issue to sort of like create a mess out of the topic because you're uncomfortable with the topic. Another thing could be reminding you of how many things they have done for you instead of addressing the current issue. For example, if you're telling your partner that, I don't like it when you take that tone with me in front of other people, and your partner suddenly says that, oh, I buy so many things for you, I supported you financially and stuff like that. So basically, notice if the conversation is going off track. Because what I have seen is, and I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of the one who does it and the one who doesn't do it. When you are someone who does this, when you are someone who like beats around the bush and you are just unable to express yourself well, what has to happen is that you confuse yourself, right? You confuse your partner also, and all of it just creates a really messy situation, right? And you are unable to make your case, right? And the reason I'm saying make your case is because you need to explain to your partner what exactly is hurting you. They're not mind readers, right? No matter how many Karan Johar movies you watch, no matter how much Bollywood and Hollywood you're into, people cannot read your mind. And sometimes it can happen that maybe you can. Some people have told me that, Dianshi, I can understand my partner. Well, then you maybe are an empathetic person, right? I'm an empath. I'm an empathetic person, and 99% of the time, whoever is around me, I am able to understand their feelings without them being able to communicate to me. But not everyone is an empath, right? And you may not always fall in love with an empathetic person. You may not always end up with a partner who's that empathetic by nature. So does it mean that you blame them, you hate them, or whatever? Maybe you are an empath, right? That like understanding emotions comes easy to you. Maybe your partner is good at something else. We all have our strong points. So just because maybe you are able to anticipate your partner's needs does not mean they may always be able to do that. Okay, does not mean that your partner is bad. It just means that there's a different rhythm that you have to find between the both of you. So if you are someone who deflects from the point again and again, don't do that. You're confusing your partner and you're confusing yourself. Now, the second part of this is, if you are with someone who does that, who changes the topic, who doesn't address the issue, who ignores it, who puts it off for another time, if something like that happens, then you need to bring the conversation back to the point. So for example, if someone keeps saying that, okay, let's discuss this later, tell your partner, ask your partner that, okay, give me a date and time when we're going to discuss about this, because this is important to me, right? Similarly, if your partner changes the topic, Be calm about it and tell them that I understand that and we are going to discuss about it, but let's discuss the topic at hand. So you have to be grounded in that moment so that you can talk about the issue. Now, another layer to this is that sometimes when there has been a lot of unresolved issues in the past, unresolved feelings in the past, that probably either you haven't communicated to your partner, or you have communicated to your partner but you guys never really resolved it. So for example, let's say you had anger towards your partner about one time that they refused to help you when you needed it, right? And you were very angry about that, but you did not discuss it with your partner. You, like, for whatever reason, you did not discuss it, and suddenly that anger is also coming, that displaced anger is also coming. So you suddenly start shouting, and you suddenly start getting angry, and you suddenly start telling your partner that, okay, you never help me, or you're never really there for me, right? So what are you doing here? You're also going away from the topic at hand, right? So again, confusing yourself, confusing your partner, and basically, every conflict is actually an opportunity to see how deep a relationship actually is. So when you consistently try to avoid conflict, when you don't discuss it, it doesn't make it better. Like, you must have seen some people say that, oh, just let it go, it will become better. It doesn't become better. See, when there is a conflict, it needs resolution, right? Otherwise, what you're doing is you're just ignoring, and anything that is ignored gets buried. It doesn't get vanished, it gets buried. And what happens to buried things? They come out one day. They come out in a very surprising way, in a very unexpected way, in ways that you just, would not be able to anticipate. And it can happen for you or your partner both. Maybe they have buried some feelings, maybe you have buried some feelings, you don't know, right? So if something like that is happening, where there is a lot of previous emotions that are coming up, understand that there is a time and place for you to talk about it, right? Compartmentalize it. Like, tell your partner that this is something that we need to talk about, and then bring your attention back to the topic at hand, whatever the topic may be, right? And define it. Define what the issue is. Is it about something between the both of you? Is it about something between you or your in-laws? Is it about something between you and your friends? Is it something about between you and someone else? Define what the issue is about, because again, often the issue is something else, and then there is just another issue that comes into the picture. For example, let's say the issue could be that your partner doesn't take the effort to get to know your friends, and that bothers you. And some other issue props up, that, oh, you know what, we don't share the same um, taste in general, or that, you know what, we don't share the same interest, and that is causing issues and stuff like that. So it's a tricky plane, but try to stick to the topic and define what the problem is actually about. If you find yourself deflecting, tell your partner that, you know what, I may do that, ground me. Or if your partner does that, tell them that, you know what, I'm not ignoring your feelings or the issues that you're bringing up, but right now let's deal with what is in front of us, right? That's the very first step. Define the issue. Be very, very clear what the issue is about, what is the topic at hand, right? Consider it like a mathematical problem if you have to. I mean, I always encourage my clients to be objective when it comes to conflict resolution, because you know what, it's very easy to get emotional when it comes to conflicts with your loved ones. But that's the thing, it backfires. When you're objective when it comes to conflict resolution, what happens is that you're able to be calm, you're able to be objective, and you're able to really see through things. Sometimes emotions create a lot of fog, specifically when you're trying to find a solution. So learn to be objective when it comes to conflict resolution. Keep your emotions aside for a moment, right? Now, coming to the second point, before I do, I'm just going to quickly see my internet again. Okay, I think it's working fine. Yeah, it's working fine. All right, let's come to the second point. The second point is, after you have defined the issue, what's going to happen is that you're going to feel things about it, your partner is going to feel things about it. The second step is to create space for whatever your partner is thinking and feeling. What do I mean when I say create space? So let's say you and I are having a fight, okay? We have defined the issue. Let's say the fight is about that you have come late to meet me, um, third time in a row in a week, and that makes me feel uh, And again, an interesting thing. I'm just angry. Okay, I don't know. I'm unable to express myself, but I'm just angry. And I'm leveling a lot of allegations against you. So we have defined the issue. The issue is that you are coming late and you're meeting me late, third time in a row. Now, the second step is to create space for the person, right? Create space for the both of you. So, here you need to give me the space to express myself, express whatever I'm feeling, express the reason I'm hurt, express why it makes me angry. See, when I do that, two things happen. One, you actually understand what the issue is. Usually what I've seen people do in relationships is they start shouting at each other. For example, one partner saying that I'm angry that you did that, the other partner will start saying that, okay, I'm also angry, you also do this. So instead of creating space for your partner's emotions, you're just like fighting with each other, you're leveling allegations, your partner is also getting more angry, you're also getting angry, so both of you don't have the space because nobody wants to hold the space, right? So if you are someone who's watching this live event, then obviously you are trying to, increase your EQ, emotional quotient. So if you're in a fight with your partner, hold space for their feelings. Which means that if your partner is telling you that, you know what, I'm really, really angry that you did that, ask them, okay, express it to me. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what are you thinking, and tell me, how exactly are you feeling hurt. So they will start expressing themselves. And when they start expressing themselves, what is going to happen is that they're also going to hear themselves speak, hear themselves think, and they're going to really put all of their feelings out. So they are also going to understand a few things. One is, see when you hear yourself speak, what happens is that you start to see the sanity and the insanity of it. Sometimes you may realize that, okay, I was angry for no reason, right? And it also gives you as a partner the opportunity to really, really hear your partner's thoughts. Because a lot of times people tell me that, okay, I did not know this would make my partner angry, I did not know that she felt this way or he felt that way. And I always ask them that, did you even try to like hear what your partner is saying? And a conflict is a great way to hold space. You may be tempted to speak, you may be tempted to fight, but your job is to hold your tongue and just tell your partner that, you know what, express how am I hurting you, express how you're thinking, express how you're feeling, and be quiet for a moment. So they're going to hear themselves speak. So they're also going to understand the gravity of what they're saying. Second, it's going to really make you understand what the issue is. Sometimes, let's say, let's take the same issue, right? Let's say I'm angry at you because you're late for the third time in a row, and I'm saying that, okay, I'm angry, you always do this, you always do that. But when you tell me that, okay, like, express your feelings for me, express your thoughts, I'm here to listen to you, and I tell you that, you know what, when you do this, it makes me feel that you don't value our friendship, right? And maybe you didn't even consider that thought, and I'm feeling that way. You think I'm angry because you are late, but maybe what I'm really angry and hurt about is that I think that you don't value our friendship, right? So what it does is it actually helps you understand my emotions in a more concrete way. It helps you understand the root cause of what the issue is, right? So this also builds emotional intimacy. It also helps you solve the real issue, the right issue. So hold space for your partner and hold space for yourself as well. So this is a small mechanism you can just introduce in your relationship, where you tell your partner that, you know what, anytime we're having a fight, we're going to take 5 to 10 minutes wherein you get to express your feelings and thoughts, and I get to express myself, and we're not going to judge each other for that. Right? We are going to resolve the conflict, but we will express whatever it is inside, right? And that is going to help you understand your partner better without hiding anything. Now, coming to the third point, which is again a very lovely one and very constructive in nature, which is what can be changed, adjusted to, and modified, and who needs to do it. Okay. Now there are three things that I've mentioned. Okay, what needs to be changed, modified, and adjusted to, because these three are different things. Okay. So for example, let's take the same issue that you and I are fighting, and it's because you are late. Okay. Now we need to talk about what needs to change and who needs to do it, right? So here when we start to talk, we come to the conclusion that, okay, let's say I think that you need to change your habit, but you may think that, okay, maybe we are meeting at a time when you're just always busy, so we may need to change the time we are meeting, right? Second, what can we modify? For example, let's say it's not possible to like change our timing altogether, and this is the only time we get to meet. So what can we do? What can we modify here? Maybe I can come a little late. Maybe you can give me a call when you're about to be late so that I start late from my home. Or maybe if you can never tell me, yeah. So as I was saying that. that would come in the modify part. um, so let's say that you give me a call whenever you're about to be late, so I start late from home. Maybe like you tell me beforehand that okay, these are the days I can meet you at this particular time. So again, right, these are some modifications we can do. If we can't change the time at all, we modify it. Now what needs to be adjusted to? For example, let's say you tell me that you know what, Rianshi, sometimes like the nature of my work is such that I can never tell you what time I make it free, but this is the only time we can meet between let's say 3 to 4 p.m. And I'm really sorry, I don't know what to do. So here is where adjusting comes into the picture. What do we have to adjust to? So here, I may have to adjust to the fact that you really have no control over your timings. So what can I do to adjust it? Maybe I can carry a book with me whenever you're late. I can read that so that I don't feel like my time is wasted. Or maybe while you're traveling, you can be on a call with me. Or maybe we decide that okay, you know what, I can adjust with meeting you just once or twice a week, because I don't think I'll be okay with you being late 4 to 5 times a week. So basically you have to determine what you can change, and at what intensity and at what level can you change it. And then you have to decide whether it is something that you can adjust with, whether it is something you can modify, whether it is something you can completely change. Because the nature of romantic relationships is such that not everything can be changed, right? Not everything can be modified. Some things you just have to adjust to, something you can modify, something you can completely change. So you have to discuss it with your partner, what can you do, and you have to like determine it in the three categories. And that's when the next point comes into the picture: who needs to do it? This is also a very important point, because again, sometimes it can happen that maybe you are the one who's always taking the onus of everything. You are the one who's always planning everything. You are the one who's always adjusting everything. You're the one who's like adjusting your life around your partner, right? And that's not fair to you. So you have to decide who actually does it, right? And here you have to determine how much adjusting or how much modification or how much change you need to do, or how much your partner needs to do. A good parameter that I often suggest people is try to make it 50-50 or 60-40, not more than that, so that both the parties are equally doing whatever they can do, of course, based on your understanding. But define it, right? Like just saying that, okay, let's say your partner tells you that, okay, let's forget about it and it will not happen again. That's not a solution, okay? Like it's if something is happening again and again, it's important to talk about it, how frequently it can happen, and to do damage control. Because if this thing happened again, if let's say you were to be late again, I'm going to be even more hurt. And the thing is that you're not doing it deliberately, right? Maybe your boss is very unpredictable and he always stops you, and you're not doing it deliberately, and I'm also angry because you told me that it will not happen again. So what is happening? Both the parties feel misunderstood, right? You're not doing it deliberately, you tell me that it's not like I'm doing deliberately, and I tell you that, you know what, I don't care, you promised me. Both the parties have unrealistic expectations of each other, right? You are expecting me to adjust and I'm expecting you to stay true to your word, and both the people are right in the same place, right? You cannot show up because you have work, and I am right to feel that okay, you're wasting my time. So that is why, if you know that something may be happening frequently, just talk about it. Understand how much you have to adjust, how much you have to modify. For example, you tell me that you know what, Rianshi, this is always going to be the case, and I think I can never give you a time. So I may tell you that, you know what, thank you for telling me, but I'm not okay with this. I cannot adjust to it. So maybe like we need to rethink things, right? Be it a friendship or a relationship. Maybe I tell you that, you know what, I'm not okay with it, I'm sorry, but um, like this is what my feelings are. So this gives you a clear picture that this is something I'm not okay with, and this gives me also a realistic picture that you cannot do anything about it. Similarly, let's say you ask me to like you tell me that, you know what, let's modify our time, and I tell you that okay, you know what, I think I can't do it 7 days a week, but I can do it 2 days a week, right? So the more you talk about your issues in depth, and the more you talk about what needs to change, modify, or adjust it to, and who needs to do it, the more clear things become. Right now, obviously, I'm talking about a very small issue like getting late. Things can be as big as, let's say, you are being disrespected by your in-laws. It could be about infidelity. It could be multiple things, right? So again, I will talk about it in the later part of this video, but this is a really good framework to start with. Okay, I'm going to just quickly see if my internet is still fine, because I get paranoid that it's not. Okay, it's fine. So let's go ahead with the last point, right? We've covered 3 points up until now: defining the issue, creating space for your partner, third, describing what needs to change, adjust, or modify to. Now, the fourth point is sort of an extension of the third point, wherein you need to talk about what is it that you and your partner can do, or whoever is responsible for whatever is happening, so that whatever mistake is happening or whatever the issue is about does not happen again. What are the systems you can introduce? What are the measures you can introduce? So for example, let's take the same example. Let's say that you get late frequently, okay, and I have an issue with it. We are fighting and we've decided that, okay, this is what we can adjust, this is what we can modify. So now what do we need to do so that this does not happen again, which means that this issue does not happen again? So we need to think of measures and systems that we put in place. Why is this necessary? This is necessary because you may be thinking something else, your partner may be thinking something else, the expectation does not align, so the way you are solving the problem may not align, and again this may lead to another issue. So maybe here some systems we lay out is that, what, whenever you get late, you give me a call that I'm going to be late, so you start late from your house. Another system that we can introduce is that, what, why don't you give me a schedule beforehand for the week if you have it, and I will see if I can meet with you. Another system and or measure we can introduce is that, what, we are going to pick one day a week, and you have to make sure that that day of the week is free for you. So when we introduce systems and measures in place, right, what it does is that it kind of makes your relationship a safe space for you to be in, because you know that, okay, your partner knows how to resolve the issue and you also know how to resolve the issue. Or let's take another example. Um, let's say that your partner tends to emotionally shut down, okay, when you have a fight, okay, let's say that. Now this is something that upsets you and this is something that has created issues for you. So what are the measures you can take, right? This is an interesting point, because sometimes you and your partner may be dealing with issues that you cannot solve on your own. Let's say your partner is emotionally shut down because, I said, there's a lot of unhealed childhood trauma that he is unable to come out of. So here a measure that you can take is that he can actually start working with a trauma healing coach, that he can start working on himself, right, so that your relationship improves. Or for example, let's say you have a habit of not being able to take a stand for yourself, and you, let's say, like, shout on your partner, and you like, your in-laws disrespect you, and you kind of fight with your partner about it. What are the measures you can take here? First is, let's say your partner does take a stand for you, right, whenever he or she can. Another is that you actually learn to take a stand for yourself. So here the measure would be you learning to work on your confidence, right? And that is why, this brings me to the first point: defining the issue, right? Sometimes the issue is very, very layered, okay. The issue could be that, what, your mother sort of shouts at me, or she disrespects me, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable. The issue could be that. But a deeper issue could be that you are a people pleaser, and because of that, you are unable to take a stand for yourself. Or that your partner has like a really enmeshed relationship with his mother, and he's unable to hear anything bad about her, right? So the issue can be very deeply layered as well. So that is why when you're thinking about what the issue is in your relationship, again, you can describe the layer in detail with your partner, or you can think about it yourself also, how layered could be the issue. And of course, if you don't know, you can always work with a trauma healing coach, but issues can be layered. So you have to determine what are the things you can do together, and what are the things that you need to individually learn. Something I found is that a lot of partners fight because either both of them have never done their inner work, or one of them is doing it and another one just refuses to grow, right? Or both of you refuse to grow, both of you are stuck in your childhood traumas and you don't want to grow. So issue is going to happen again and again. Only two healed adults can have conflicts and move on from it without getting sucked into it again and again, right? Because they know how to move on, they know how to resolve it. So you need to put systems and measures in place, like what are you doing to resolve this issue in the long run? Sometimes issues are small, like getting late, or your partner not respecting your time, or let's say your partner not being a good listener. These could be small issues that may not have a very big impact, but there could be really big issues, like, let's say your partner having poor financial habits, or your partner not respecting you, or your partner having a lot of anger issues, or your partner always complaining and feeling negative, and that like bringing down the energy of the whole house. So issue can be anything, right? Like it's a very personal thing. You have to define the issue, and you have to determine what can you do in the short run and what can you do in the long run, because some issues are just that deeply layered, right? Often, if you are someone who has done your inner work, you will be able to deal with your short term issues very quickly. And even in the long term issues, you will start your inner work, right? So because of that, you will be able to like come out of it. For example, I'll tell you a real life case. So I once worked with someone wherein this particular person, this client of mine, she had a love marriage, and they had a relationship for 5 years, and then they married each other. And the moment they got married to each other, they started having a lot of issues, because before marriage they kind of shared like a long distance relationship. So it's not like they did not spend enough time, right? They did spend enough time, but the thing is that because it was long distance relationship and now they were married and they were living in one house, there were a lot of issues. So this particular client of mine found out that her partner has a lot of anger issues, and her partner had issues with my client, that like she would not talk about issues, and she would get really really emotional, and she would feel unsafe. So basically this was resulting into really huge problems. And something that she did before coming to me was, she went to her parents, and their parents spoke, and obviously it did not help, right? It did not help, and this made my client feel that everybody was against her. So when we started working on it, what we found was that my client used to feel very overwhelmed around when her partner would get angry. And her partner would get angry because he did not know how to express disagreement apart from anger, right? And his family was always okay with his anger, so he thought that his partner would also be okay with it. And now that they were living together in one space, it was coming out more often. So we worked on my client's ability to be objective, and we also introduced some measures and systems in their marriage, so that whenever her husband would feel that they are disagreeing, he would express it, or he would take some time to cool off, and my client would be objective about her partner, right? So when we did that, and of course we did deep inner work, we released a lot of childhood trauma that my client had. We also worked on her being open to her husband about what are the issues that he could be facing. And fortunately, her partner was also open to it, so they were able to move on from their issues in like just 5 or 6 sessions. They were having a really great time, and like she still messages me that she's very thankful for that. So the point is that sometimes the issues exist because you haven't done your inner work, right? And the thing is that when you don't do your inner work, your self-awareness is already very low. When your self-awareness is low, you also don't understand how to deal with issues in your life. Romantic relationship is of course one part of it. There could be other areas of your life where you don't know how to deal with issues, right? So your job is to do your inner work so that you can know how to deal with your issues, right? Instead of blaming, instead of dragging your parents and friends, which I do not recommend you do, because I have seen some of my clients get really horrible advice, like really really horrible, and then they would tell me that, Angie, I wish I didn't hear, like, listen to this person. I wish I didn't listen to my mother, she said this and all that. And I always tell them that, you know what, like, don't involve friends and family into your relationship issues, because they themselves aren't the most functional people. Of course, if you have someone who has a very healthy outlook to life and has a very healthy relationship, you can go to them for advice. But if you know that your parents themselves have like really unhealthy relationships, and your friends are someone who are giving you advices from Instagram, then come on, I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure. So don't do that, okay? Always take help from functional people who are either in your situation or who have been in your situation, or simply take professional help. Okay, so this was the 4 step framework. Now I want to talk about a few bonus points that are very very important when it comes to conflict resolution. Now I've kept the points today very very simple, because conflict resolution is not complicated, right? If you start simply implementing these 4 things, you will see a dramatic shift in your relationship with your partner, and you will see a dramatic improvement in the way you deal with things. And of course, if you are someone who's finding it difficult to navigate your romantic relationships and you want to actually work on it, you can DM me coaching to book a one-on-one session, and you're going to start your transformation journey right away. Okay, I'm going to see if we have any questions so far. Okay, we don't have any questions. So we're just going to move to the last part of our discussion today, which is I want to discuss a few bonus points when it comes to conflict resolution. Um, Now, see, when it comes to conflict resolution, it's very important to consider that sometimes conflicts can be such in nature that you just cannot resolve them, right? Which brings me to the first point of the bonus point that I want to talk about is understand your deal breakers in your relationship. Sometimes some things are just not fixable, And sometimes you have to determine what are deal breakers for you, right? Oftentimes you may get into a relationship and you don't determine, okay, what are some deal breakers, right? So deal breakers could be physical violence, deal breakers could be sexual infidelity or even emotional infidelity. Deal breakers could be your partner disrespecting you again and again, your partner not being emotionally cooperative, your partner not financially pitching in, your partner like putting all the burden of childcare onto you. So you have to determine your deal breakers. And why it's so important is because sometimes, like not sometimes, like when you don't define it, your partner also does not know, right? Your partner feels that they can be any way they want, which is not fair, right? When you determine your deal breakers, your partner also knows that, okay, this is someone who will not tolerate my bullshit. So either I don't be with this person or I don't do that bullshit. It's very simple, right? So determine your deal breakers, sit down, and it doesn't matter whether you've been in a relationship or you're not in a relationship. Sit down and write about the things that you absolutely cannot tolerate in your relationship. It could be anything, right? It could be, and be free here, okay? It could be that, okay, you know what, I don't want to be with a partner who's financially dependent on me. I don't want to be with a partner um, who's like who has a lot of unhealed childhood trauma and they're like a mama's boy or a daddy's girl sort of a place, sort of a thing. Or you don't want to be with a partner who, let's say, has a history of cheating. See, being in a romantic relationship is a very personal thing, so you determine your list, right? And again, I'm not saying be judgmental here, but it's okay to have your deal breakers, because that way you know what you can accept and what you cannot accept. A lot of people, when they go through physical or sexual violence, or even emotional violence, they later on realized that, okay, I didn't even know that I was putting up with it, because I did not know that this is what we call a deal breaker. So after they've endured it, they realize it. So it's better to just determine it again, like ahead of time, this is something that I'm not okay with. That, you know what, physical violence, if it ever happens, that's it, it's done for. I'm not here. Or if you cheat on me, it's done for, I'm not here for it, right? So determine your deal breakers. And of course, as the title suggests, that in case that is happening, determine whether this is something you really want to stay in or not, because sometimes some conflicts are a sign to just leave the relationship, okay? Like it's something that you just cannot work on anymore. Now the second point, that is that create a parameter of how many times is it really acceptable. Now sometimes some things, when they're repeated again and again, you are able to put up with it. For example, let's say your partner getting irritated, or your partner, let's say, forgetting something. Those things are okay. Let's say that when it comes to your partner making fun of you in front of people, you have to determine, are you okay with it, and how many times are you okay with it. Maybe if it happens once or twice, it's not a big enough reason to walk out of the relationship, or it's not big enough for you to tell your partner that, you know what, this is not something I'm not okay with, and you need to change this, otherwise this is not okay. But you have to determine a number, okay? Again, people don't do that. People endure things that make them feel bad about themselves for years, because they haven't defined a number. So define it. How many times are you okay with your partner crossing a certain boundary? It could be emotional boundaries, it could be disrespect, it could be, again, violence, it could be anything. It could be them not financially contributing, it could be them not listening to you and only listening to their side of the family, whatever it is. Determine the parameter and tell your partner that this is the number of times I've endured it, and it's not okay with me anymore. And if this happens again, um, unfortunately, this will not work, right? And this brings me to another point that is sort of out of context a little bit. But you know what? You will only be able to do this when you yourself are deeply confident, when you yourself are not a people pleaser, when you are a healed person. Only a healed person is able to truly have a healthy partner, because they love themselves so much that it is a example to the partner how to love them. When you don't love yourself enough, you expect that your partner will fulfill that void, which will never happen. Your partner will not love you more than you love yourself. That's a very, very, very rare phenomenon, believe me, right? This is not a movie. Treat your partner, you teach your partner how to love you by an example of how you love yourself. So if someone disrespects you, you have to be willing to say to them that I don't tolerate it and I'm willing to walk away, no matter if you're married or if you have even kids. Because believe it or not, things or people don't change unless you are willing to change, unless you're willing to have like a hard boundary, a hard stop. So your inner work, your inner healing is the most important part of your relationship, more than anything else. Now, coming to the next point, which is negotiables and non-negotiables are So basically, here what I want to do is I wanted to make a list of what is negotiable in a relationship and what is non-negotiable in a relationship, and this is going to look differently for different people. So, for example, if you ask me if I'm in a relationship, respect is non-negotiable for me. Like, if somebody disrespects me at all, it's just not going to happen. Like, unfortunately, I will never be open to it. It may not be the case for you. Maybe you may be okay with it. Again, right? Your non-negotiables and negotiables are going to be different. For some people, they're okay with staying with a partner if they cheat on them. For some people, it's not. And interestingly, I will tell you, how much you tolerate in your relationship is also going to be a reflection of how much you love yourself. When you don't love yourself enough, you will tolerate far more, far more, because there's a wounded inner child within you who needs that relationship, who needs it to work, who needs the partner more than you see yourself as a respectable person, right? So your negotiables and non-negotiables will also change as you grow as a person. That is why you will often see that people, when they're in their 30s or even their 40s, when it comes to their relationship, they're very confident in them, or they know what they want and what they don't want. Why? Because they have grown as a person, right? And that's why like a lot of sexist cultures encourage early marriages, because it's easier to tolerate when you are young, but it's harder to tolerate when you're old, because you become mature, your frontal lobe develops, and you basically have seen enough life. So the amount of inner work you do is going to make you internally confident, so you will be able to be sure about, this is negotiable for me and this is non-negotiable for me. So for example, let's say what's negotiable for me is that sometimes you are late, but what's non-negotiable for me is that you cheat on me, or that you don't understand me, or that you see your parents disrespect me and you're okay with it, right? Or you ask me to put up with other people's disrespect. So again, right, non-negotiables and negotiables are a very important topic to discuss with your partner. Now, the last point is acknowledge how you are creating issues in your relationship. Now, what do I mean by this? See, the thing is that sometimes it's very easy to think that I'm the victim, things are happening to me, I didn't do anything wrong. But the truth is that there is a way you thought and you felt which attracted your partner in your life. Okay, there's a reason why you're with a specific type of partner. There's a reason why your partner loves you a certain way. You will often see that when it comes to really self-sufficient and confident people, they always get really loving partners. Why? Because they're an example of self-love themselves. Similarly, you will often see that insecure people and people who are always running behind love or desperate for relationships, they often get really avoidant partners, disrespectful partners. Why? Because they're willing to put up with it, right? And when they attracted that partner, they were like that themselves. So when you're attracting your relationship from a place of desperation, loneliness, or this needs to work, otherwise my life will be over, or societal timelines that, okay, now I'm 28, I need to be married, so let me marry any woman or man I come across. Or that, oh, you know what, I don't make money, I need to find someone who makes money for me. Or, you know what, this partner looks pretty, so let me just get married to them. So basically, the kind of person you are is also a big factor in the kind of person you have attracted in your life, right? In fact, I will also, and this is very controversial, I don't expect you to agree with me here, but this also applies in abusive relationship. See, when abuse has happened for the very first time in your life, your job is to walk away. If you stay, you need to ask yourself, what version of me disrespects me so much that I'm asking myself to stay? People don't stay in abusive relationships because they like it. People stay in abusive relationships because their self-worth is so low, their opinion of themselves is so low, right? They tolerate disrespect not because they like it, but because somewhere a part of themselves feel that, okay, this is the kind of love I deserve, right? So ask yourself, what version am I right now that is creating all this? What part of me feels okay to tolerate this disrespect? What part of me feels okay to put up with this, be it with your partner or your in-laws or anyone else? Because if it is happening once or twice, it's not your fault. But if it is happening again and again, you are also creating it. Because when you are quiet about the things that you shouldn't be quiet about, you are an equal culprit in your situation. You stop being a victim there. You start being a creator, your own perpetrator, your own abuser, right? Okay, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And as I've mentioned, I'm doing a lovely 2-day bootcamp on healing relationship wounds on 31st of March. Sorry, 31st of May and 1st June. It's going to be an amazing bootcamp, which is going to open up your eyes about a lot of issues in your relationships. And if you are not inside my group, again, you can just like DM me relationship, and I'm just going to give you the bootcamp. I'm going to give you the link of the bootcamp group. And I also have an amazing bootcamp which I did last year, which was on healing childhood trauma. If you have not watched it, go watch it. It's in the featured section of my profile. It's again for free, and it's the same group where we're also doing the bootcamp on healing relationship wounds. So if you're already inside that group, it's great. The bootcamp is happening there and then. And of course, if you are someone who's looking to heal your relationship wounds, and you want to take accountability, and you actually want to you want a permanent resolution in your relationship, you can of course DM me coaching to book your session. And again, I don't do couples counseling, I do individual work, because I'm a very big believer that you need to work on yourself for your relationship to work for you, right? So I do individual work. So if you're interested in that, you can just DM me coaching, and or you can just share your issues with me and we can get on a call. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week with another live event. Bye bye.